scientists found a completely new human species deep within a South African cave, its bones clustered in a way that sparked many questions. Imagine a 12,000-year-old temple complex, built by people who hadn't yet started farming, its massive stone pillars carved with strange animals. And then picture divers uncovering an entire ancient Egyptian city, lost beneath the waves for centuries, complete with giant statues and sunken ships. Number 10. Homo naledi, the Cave of Stars secret. Deep within the rising star cave system in South Africa, a place so difficult to reach it requires navigating a pitch-black 18-centimeter wide chute called Superman's Crawl. An astonishing discovery was made in 2013. Two recreational cavers, Rick Hunter and Stephen Tucker, squeezed through these tight passages and stumbled into a chamber now known as the naledi chamber, or Chamber of Stars. What they saw by the light of their headlamps were bones, lots of them, scattered across the cave floor. These weren't animal bones. They looked human, but also somehow different. They alerted paleoanthropologist Lee Berger, who quickly realized this was something extraordinary. Getting into the naledi chamber was so challenging that Berger had to put out a call on social media for skinny scientists and cavers, preferably with a background in archaeology or paleoanthropology, who could fit through the narrow passages. A team of 6 women, dubbed the Underground Astronaut, was selected to excavate the fragile remains. Over several expeditions, starting in November 2013, they carefully recovered more than 1,550 fossil specimens, representing at least 15 individuals, from infants to old adults. This was one of the largest assemblages of a single hominine species ever found in Africa. The announcement of Homo naledi came in 2015. This new species of ancient human relative had a surprising mix of features. Its brain was small, about the size of an orange, similar to much earlier hominins like Australopithecus. Yet, its hands, wrists, and feet were remarkably human-like, suggesting tool use and an upright gait. Its shoulders and torso, however, were more ape-like, suited for climbing. Teeth were relatively small and simple, like those of more modern humans. The individuals stood about 1.5 meters, around 5 feet, tall and weighed about 45 kilograms, around 100 pounds. Dating these bones proved tricky at first, but later analysis published in 2017 showed they were surprisingly young, living between 335,000 and 236,000 years ago. This means Homo naledi might have coexisted with early Homo sapiens in Africa. The sheer number of individuals found in such a remote, dark, and hard-to-reach chamber, with no evidence of them being dragged there by predators or washed in by water, and no tools or other animal bones found with them, led to many discussions among scientists about how they got there. The careful placement of so many individuals from different age groups in this specific chamber made the discovery site itself a puzzle. Number 9. Thonis-Heracleion, the sunken port of ancient Egypt. Imagine an ancient Egyptian city, a vibrant port bustling with trade from across the Mediterranean, suddenly vanishing from history, only to be rediscovered centuries later beneath the waves. That's the story of Thonis-Heracleion, known as Heracleion to the Greeks and Thonis to the Egyptians. This city was once Egypt's main gateway to the Greek world, flourishing for hundreds of years before Alexander the Great founded Alexandria in 31 BC. Then, gradually, it disappeared, likely succumbing to earthquakes, tsunamis, and soil liquefaction that caused the land it was built on to sink into the Mediterranean Sea sometime around the 8th century AD. For over 1,200 years, its existence was primarily known through ancient texts and a few scattered artifacts. In the year 2000, a team led by French underwater archaeologist Franck Goddio and the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology, IEASM, in collaboration with the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, made a breakthrough. While surveying Abu Qir Bay near Alexandria, they located the submerged ruins. What they found was breathtaking. Spread over a large area about 6.5 kilometers off the coast, lay the remarkably well-preserved remains of a major city. Divers uncovered colossal statues, some over 5 meters, 16 feet tall, including depictions of pharaohs, gods like Hapi, the god of the Nile's flood, and goddesses. They found the remains of temples, including the grand temple dedicated to Amun-Jereb, the supreme god of the Egyptians, and Heracles for the Greeks. Hundreds of ancient anchors and over 70 shipwrecks were discovered, ranging from small Egyptian sailing boats to larger seagoing vessels, providing a unique insight into ancient shipbuilding and maritime trade. One particularly well-preserved vessel, known as Ship 17, a type of Nile River barge called a barris, closely matched descriptions given by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, which had previously puzzled scholars. The finds continued to mount throughout the 21st century. Gold coins, jewelry, ceramics, ritual artifacts, and everyday objects painted a vivid picture of life in Thonis-Heracleion. Inscriptions found on Staley stone slabs confirmed the city's identity and its role as a customs post, where taxes were collected on goods imported into Egypt. One such stele, a near-perfect copy of one already known from the city of Naucratis, detailed the taxes to be levied. The meticulous excavation, often involving carefully removing layers of sand and sediment, has revealed a city that was once interlaced with canals, with islands and port basins. The sheer scale and preservation of Thonis-Heracleion have provided an unparalleled window into the religious, economic, and daily life of this crucial ancient Egyptian port city during the final centuries of pharaonic rule and the Ptolemaic period. Number 8. Sulawesi Cave Art, redrawing the timeline of creativity. For a long time, many believed that sophisticated art, the kind that shows recognizable figures and tells stories, first emerged in Europe, with famous examples like the Chauvet Cave in France. But discoveries in Indonesia during the 21st century have dramatically changed that picture. On the island of Sulawesi, researchers found cave paintings that are among the oldest known figurative art in the world. In 2014, a team of Australian and Indonesian archaeologists, led by Maxime Aubert and Adam Brum, used a technique called uranium series dating on the mineral crusts, known as cave popcorn, that had formed over the paintings in several caves in the Maros Pankep limestone karsts. One hand stencil was found to be at least 39,900 years old. Even more astonishing was a painting of a babarusa, or pig deer, in Liang Timpasan Cave, which dated to at least 35,400 years ago. This made it one of the oldest known depictions of an animal. Then in 2017, further exploration in the region led to an even more remarkable find in a cave named Liang Bulu Sipang 4. Here, a large painted panel depicted a hunting scene. It showed several small human-like figures with animal features, therianthropes, part human, part animal, apparently hunting warty pigs, and a noa, a type of dwarf buffalo, with spears or ropes. In 2019, the same team published dating results for this scene. It was at least 43,900 years old. This was groundbreaking. Not only was it incredibly ancient figurative art, but it was also arguably the oldest known narrative scene telling a story. Presence of therianthropes suggested early mythological or religious thought. These discoveries pushed back the timeline for sophisticated art by thousands of years and showed that it wasn't just a European phenomenon. Early modern humans in Asia were also creating complex art. The surprises from Sulawesi didn't stop there. In 2021, researchers announced the dating of another painting, this time in Lian Tedong Cave, which is very difficult to access. This painting depicted a Sulawesi warty pig, rendered in dark red ochre with bristly hair and facial warts characteristic of adult males of the species. Uranium series dating of calcite overlying the painting yielded a minimum age of 45,500 years. This made it, at the time of its announcement, the oldest known figurative artwork created by humans. Painting is quite large, about 136 cm by 54 cm, 53 inches by 21 inches. The skill involved in creating these artworks, using natural pigments on cave walls deep inside these limestone formations, speaks volumes about the cognitive abilities and cultural practices of these early people. These Indonesian caves have become a treasure trove, rewriting our understanding of where and when humans first began to express themselves through art. Number 7. Must Farm, Britain's Pompeii, frozen in time. Imagine a thriving Bronze Age village, built on stilts over a slow-moving river, suddenly engulfed by a catastrophic fire. The inhabitants flee for their lives, leaving everything behind. The burning wooden structures collapse into the water and silt below, preserving a perfect snapshot of daily life from nearly 3,000 years ago. This isn't a movie plot. It's the incredible archaeological site of Must Farm in Cambridgeshire, England, often dubbed Britain's Pompeii for its extraordinary level of preservation. The site was first identified in 1999 when a local archaeologist noticed wooden posts protruding from the clay of a quarry. Small evaluations followed, but the main, large-scale excavation by the Cambridge Archaeological Unit took place in 2015 to 2016, funded by Historic England and Fortora, the quarry owners. What they unearthed was a settlement of at least 5 circular wooden houses, built very close together on stilts above a freshwater river channel, dating to around 850 BC, during the Late Bronze Age. A wooden palisade, or defensive fence, also on stilts, enclosed the settlement. Cause of its demise was a major fire, which spread rapidly through the wooden structures. As the houses burned, they collapsed into the river below. Combination of charring from the fire and the waterlogged, anaerobic, oxygen-free conditions of the river silts led to the exceptional preservation of organic materials that would normally have rotted away centuries ago. Archaeologists found entire sets of pots, some still with food inside, remnants of the last meal, a sort of porridge. There were well-preserved textiles, including fine linen fabrics, some with decorative fringing, representing some of the finest Bronze Age textiles ever found in Britain. Wooden platters, bowls, and buckets were uncovered, some still shiny. Tools and weapons were abundant: bronze, axe heads, sickles, gouges, and spearheads, some still with their wooden handles intact. Glass beads, part of necklaces, were found, some originating from as far away as the Middle East, indicating long-distance trade networks. Even delicate items, like woven baskets, balls of thread, and bundles of plant fibers were preserved. The layout of the houses could be clearly seen, along with internal features. Animal bones, including those of dogs and lambs, were found, some showing signs of butchery. The density of artifacts was astounding. It was as if the inhabitants had to leave in a great hurry, abandoning all their possessions. The site provided an unprecedented detailed glimpse into the domestic life, diet, technology, and economy of a Bronze Age community in Britain. Every find, from the wooden spoons to the human waste, coprolites, added another brushstroke to this incredibly vivid picture of a lost world, frozen at the exact moment of its destruction. Number 6. The Lost City of the Monkey God. Unveiling a hidden civilization in Honduras. For centuries, legends circulated in Honduras about a white city, or city of the monkey god, a lost metropolis hidden deep within the dense, unexplored jungles of La Mosquitia. Many dismissed these tales as myth, but in the 21st century, technology helped turn legend into reality. In 2012, a team of researchers using an advanced aerial survey technique called LIDAR, light detection and ranging, flew over a remote valley in La Mosquitia. LIDAR works by bouncing laser beams off the ground, allowing scientists to digitally remove the thick jungle canopy and reveal any human-made structures hidden beneath. The LiDAR images were astounding. They showed the unmistakable outlines of an ancient city, complete with plazas, earthen pyramids, mounds, and even a possible ball court, all previously invisible under the triple canopy rainforest. This was not just a small settlement. The LiDAR data suggested a substantial, complex urban area that had been swallowed by the jungle for perhaps 500 years or more. Intrigued and excited, a ground expedition including archaeologists, anthropologists, and documentary filmmakers was mounted in early 2015. Led by archaeologist Christopher Fisher, the team was helicoptered into the remote, previously unexplored valley. They confirmed the LiDAR data, and exceeded expectations. They documented extensive earthworks, house mounds, terracing for agriculture and irrigation canals, all indicating a sophisticated and well-organized society. The architectural style was different from that of the nearby Maya, suggesting this was a distinct, largely unknown culture that flourished between approximately 1000 AD and 1400 AD. One of the most remarkable discoveries at the base of one of the pyramids was a cache of over 500 stone artifacts. These included intricately carved mitates, grinding stones, in the shape of jaguars or vultures, ceremonial seats, and vessels decorated with animal motifs and human-like figures. What was extraordinary was that these objects appeared to have been deliberately left there, perhaps as an offering when the city was abandoned. They were untouched, lying exactly where they had been placed centuries ago. One of the most striking pieces was a jaguar effigy, possibly representing a shaman transformed into a spirit animal. The site was named the City of the Jaguar by the Honduran president, though it's also referred to by the LiDAR survey target named T1. The discovery opened up a whole new chapter in Central American archaeology, revealing a previously lost civilization and prompting further research into the history and extent of human settlement in this challenging rainforest. The area is now protected as part of the Ciudad Blanca Archaeological Reserve. Number 5. Antithera Mechanism. Decoding an ancient Greek computer salve. The story of the Antithera Mechanism begins over a century ago, in 1900, when sponge divers discovered an ancient Roman shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island of Antithera. Among the statues, pottery, and other treasures salvaged in 1901 was a corroded, unassuming lump of bronze. It wasn't until months later, when it broke apart, that its true nature began to emerge. It contained intricate gears. This was the Antithera Mechanism, and Beckett, that has continued to astound scientists into the 21st century. Early studies suggested it was some kind of astronomical calculator, but its sheer complexity was baffling for an object dated to around 150 to 100 BC. The 21st century brought new technologies that allowed researchers to peer inside the fragile, calcified fragments like never before. Starting in the early 2000s, teams like the Antithera Mechanism Research Project used advanced X-ray computed tomography, CT, scanning and planometric texture mapping, which captures surface details, to reveal hidden inscriptions and the incredibly sophisticated internal workings. What these high-tech investigations, particularly those around 2005 to 2006 and ongoing, uncovered was mind-boggling. The mechanism wasn't just a simple calendar. It was an extraordinarily complex, geared analog computer. It had at least 30, and possibly as many as 72 precision bronze gears. These gears modeled the irregular movements of the Moon, taking into account its elliptical orbit, known as the first lunar anomaly, and likely the Sun. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy, based on Babylonian astronomical cycles like the Saros cycle. Dials on its front and back displayed the position of the Sun, Moon, and possibly the 5 planets known in antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn against the zodiac. It also had a metonic calendar, a lunisolar calendar of 19 years, and a callippic cycle, 4 metonic cycles. One of the most surprising 21st century findings was the decoding of more of the tiny Greek inscriptions covering its surfaces, essentially a user manual. These texts described cosmic events, planetary movements, and even the colors of eclipses. The level of mineralization and complexity in its gearing is comparable to that of 18th century European clocks. Nothing else like it has ever been found from antiquity. The discovery that ancient Greek engineers possessed the know-how to design and build such a sophisticated astronomical device has fundamentally altered our understanding of the technological capabilities of the ancient world. It shows a grasp of theoretical astronomy and precision engineering that was not thought to exist until more than a millennium later. The mechanism stands as a testament to a lost tradition of complex mechanical technology. Excavations at the Antithera shipwreck site have also resumed in the 21st century, yielding new artifacts and even human remains, hoping to shed more light on the ship and its precious cargo. Number 4. Richard III, the king under the car park. It sounds like something out of a historical thriller, the long-lost remains of a notorious English king, vilified for centuries, found buried beneath a city council car park. This was the real-life archaeological drama that unfolded in Leicester, England, in 2012. King Richard III, the last Plantagenet king of England, was killed at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485, a pivotal moment that ended the Wars of the Roses and brought the Tudors to power. Historical accounts said he was buried in the Greyfriars Church in Leicester, but the church was demolished during the Reformation in the 16th century, and its exact location, along with Richard's grave, was lost to time. For centuries, his final resting place was a mystery. In 2012, the Richard III Society, along with the University of Leicester Archaeological Services, ULA, launched an ambitious project called Looking for Richard. They focused their search on a Leicester City Council car park, which historical maps suggested might be the site of the former Greyfriars Choir, where Richard was reportedly interred. In August 2012, just days into the excavation, the team dug a trench and uncovered human remains. The skeleton was that of an adult male, and it had several striking features. Most notably, it had severe scoliosis, a curvature of the spine, which would have made one shoulder visibly higher than the other, consistent with contemporary descriptions of Richard III having a crookback, though not as exaggerated as in Shakespeare's portrayal. The skeleton also showed multiple pre-mortem injuries, wounds inflicted around the time of death. There were at least 10, including several to the skull. 2 of these head wounds were potentially fatal. One was a large, sharp force trauma to the base of the skull, likely from a weapon like a halberd. Another was a penetrating injury to the top of the skull. These injuries were consistent with accounts of Richard III dying in battle, fighting fiercely. The body had been buried in a crudely dug grave, too short for the body, with no coffin or shroud evident. This suggested a hasty burial, fitting for a defeated enemy king. To confirm the identity, scientists extracted DNA from the skeleton's teeth and compared it with that of two living matrilineal descendants of Richard III's eldest sister, Anne of York. In February 2013, the University of Leicester announced to the world's media that the DNA match, combined with the skeletal evidence and archaeological context, confirmed beyond reasonable doubt that the skeleton found under the car park was indeed that of King Richard III. The discovery was a sensation, solving a 500-year-old mystery and providing invaluable new material for historians studying this controversial monarch. Number 3. Denisovans, the ghost lineage in our DNA. Imagine a new branch of the human family tree being discovered not from a nearly complete skeleton, but from a tiny piece of a finger bone found in a remote Siberian cave. This is the story of the Denisovans, a mysterious group of archaic humans whose existence was revealed to the world in 2010 primarily through the power of ancient DNA analysis. The story begins in Denisova Cave, located in the Altai Mountains of southern Siberia. This cave has been a rich site for archaeologists for decades, yielding stone tools and animal remains. In 2008, Russian archaeologists excavated a small fragment of a human finger bone, specifically the distal phalanx of a juvenile female from a layer dated to between 50,000 and 75,000 years ago. They also found a couple of large molars. The real surprise came when Svante Pabel and his team at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, pioneers in ancient DNA research, extracted and sequenced the double-line DNA, Mintidia, from the finger bone. The results, published in March 2010, were astonishing. The Metedna sequence was distinct from both modern humans and Neanderthals. It suggested a lineage that had diverged from the human family tree much earlier. Later that year, the team published the nuclear DNA sequence from the bone, which confirmed that the Denisovans were a sister group to Neanderthals, sharing a common ancestor with them after splitting from the lineage leading to modern humans. They were a ghost lineage, a population whose existence was inferred from genetics before being clearly identified in the fossil record through morphology. The teeth found in the cave were also analyzed. They were very large, much larger than Neanderthal or modern human teeth, with archaic features further supporting the idea of a distinct hominin group. What made the Denisovan discovery even more intriguing was the evidence of interbreeding. Genetic analysis showed that Denisovans had contributed DNA to present-day human populations. Traces of Denisovan DNA, typically between 3% and 5%, are found in Melanesians, people from Papua New Guinea and nearby islands, Indigenous Australians, and some other groups in Southeast Asia and Oceania. This indicates that when anatomically modern humans migrated out of Africa and spread across Asia, they encountered and interbred with Denisovans. Subsequent finds and analyses have expanded our understanding. For example, a jawbone found in Baishia Karst Cave on the Tibetan Plateau in 1980 was identified in 2019 through protein analysis as Denisovan. This showed that Denisovans were adapted to high-altitude environments and lived across a wider geographic range than just Siberia, perhaps across much of Asia. The discovery of Denisovans, almost entirely through genetic detective work on scant fossil remains, has added a fascinating new layer to the complex story of human evolution, revealing a world where multiple human species coexisted and interacted. Number 2. Homo floresiensis, the real-life hobbit of Indonesia. In 2003, a joint Indonesian-Australian archaeological team was excavating in Liang Bua, a large limestone cave on the island of Flores in Indonesia, searching for evidence of early modern human migration from Asia to Australia. Instead, they stumbled upon one of the most surprising and debated discoveries in the history of paleoanthropology: the partial skeleton of a tiny, adult female hominin, unlike anything seen before. Catalogued as LB1, this individual stood only about 1.1 meters, 3 feet 6 inches tall, had a remarkably small brain, about 400 cubic centimeters, comparable to a chimpanzee, yet was found associated with stone tools and evidence of hunting. The team, led by Mike Morwood and Raiden Sojono, nicknamed her the Hobbit, after the small, human-like creatures from J.R. Tolkien's books. The initial dating of LB1 and other associated finds suggested Homo floresiensis, as the new species was named, lived on Flores as recently as 12,000 years ago. This was truly shocking because it meant this primitive-looking, small-brained hominin might have coexisted with modern humans, Homo sapiens, who arrived in the region around 50,000 years ago for tens of thousands of years. The features of Homo floresiensis were a mosaic, a small body and brain like early hominins, Australopithecines, but with facial and dental features more similar to the genus Homo. Its feet were relatively large for its body size, and its wrist bones were primitive. Despite its small brain, the presence of sophisticated stone tools, evidence of butchered stegodon, an extinct type of elephant, and signs of fire use in the cave layers associated with H. floresiensis led to intense debate. Could such a small-brained hominin make such tools? Or were modern humans responsible? Over the next few years, more remains of Homo floresiensis were found in Liang Bua, representing at least 9 individuals, though most were fragmentary. The debate about its status raged. Was it a new species, or was LB1 a modern human with a pathological condition like microcephaly, abnormally small head, or Laron syndrome, a form of dwarfism? However, detailed anatomical studies of the skull, brain, endocast, wrist, shoulder, foot, and other bones consistently pointed towards a distinct, non-pathological hominin species. Further research and redating of the Ang Bua deposits, published in 2016, revised the age of the Homo floresiensis remains. The main fossil evidence is now dated to between 100,000 and 60,000 years ago, with their stone tools found up until about 50,000 years ago. This still means they likely overlapped with modern humans arriving in the region. The leading hypothesis for their origin is that they evolved from an early Homo erectus population that reached Flores, perhaps as early as 1 million years ago, as evidenced by older stone tools found elsewhere on the island, and then underwent a process of island dwarfism and evolutionary size over generations. Id everent size of. The discovery of Homo floresiensis dramatically reshaped our understanding of human evolution, showing that our family tree was more diverse and its members more varied in form and persistence than previously imagined. Number 1. Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest temple, built by hunter-gatherers. Imagine a time long before Stonehenge, before the pyramids of Giza, even before humans had settled down to farm or invented pottery. Now picture in that remote past, hunter-gatherers quarrying, transporting, and erecting massive, elaborately carved stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons and standing 5.5 meters, 18 feet tall, to create monumental circular enclosures on a remote hilltop in southeastern Anatolia, modern Turkey. This is Göbekli Tepe, an archaeological site that has profoundly challenged our understanding of early human civilization. While initial surface finds were noted in the 1960s, its true significance wasn't realized until German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began systematic excavations in 1994, with major discoveries continuing 1st century until his passing in 2014 and carried on by his team. What Schmidt and his colleagues uncovered was astounding. Dating back to roughly 9,600 BC to 8,200 BC, Göbekli Tepe is currently considered the oldest known megalithic structure in the world, a vast ceremonial or temple complex. It consists of multiple circular and oval-shaped structures. The most impressive features are the T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circles with two larger central pillars in each enclosure. These pillars are not plain. Many are intricately carved with stylized depictions of animals, menacing foxes, lions, snakes, boars, vultures, scorpions, and gazelles. Some pillars also feature abstract symbols and stylized human-like arms, carved in relief along their sides, suggesting they might represent stylized human figures or deities. The level of artistry and symbolic complexity is remarkable for a pre-agricultural society. The sheer scale of construction is mind-boggling. Quarrying these massive stones from nearby limestone beds and moving them hundreds of meters to the hilltop would have required a significant coordinated labor force. This implies a level of social organization and shared ideology among these hunter-gatherer groups that was previously thought to be associated only with later settled agricultural societies. For a long time, the prevailing theory was that the development of agriculture led to settled life, which then allowed for the development of complex societies, religion, and monumental architecture, the Neolithic Revolution. Göbekli Tepe turns this idea on its head. It appears that complex ritual and social organization may have preceded and perhaps even spurred the development of agriculture in this region, which is part of the Fertile Crescent where farming first began. Evidence from the site suggests that people gathered here from a wide area for rituals or feasts. Large quantities of animal bones, mainly from wild game, like gazelle and aurochs, had been found, indicating large-scale consumption. There's no evidence of domesticated plants or animals at the earliest levels, nor any signs of permanent habitation like houses or hearths for cooking. It seems to have been a place of ritual, not a village. Around 8000 BC, for reasons still unknown, the Göbekli Tepe enclosures were deliberately and carefully buried, backfilled with earth, stone, and animal bones. This act of burial is what preserved them so well for millennia. Only a small fraction of the site has been excavated so far. Geonadetic surveys indicate that at least 15 to 20 more such enclosures remain buried, suggesting the complex is even larger than currently known. Göbekli Tepe has opened up a new window onto the minds and capabilities of people living at the dawn of the Neolithic period, forcing a major rethink of the origins of religion, society, and civilization itself.